so happy to be doing the season 2 already. We have completed season 1 of Mona Lisa's talk show, and today I have a very interesting guest who is not only a practicing doctor for the last 20 years, she's also a writer, and I'm excited to interview her. And also, we have that interesting segment in the end. So, let me quickly invite our guest today. Hi, Dr. Shalini, how are you?
Hi, Mona Lisa. I'm doing well, and thank you so much for having me here. And it's extra special, as you just told me, to be starting your season 2 of this absolutely delightful talk show. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
The honor is all mine, and I'm so excited that you are the first guest for season 2, and we are going to do something interesting today. I have done it in the earlier episodes as well for season 1, but for you, I have created some interesting questions. So I think it's going to be fun.
I'm sure we'll enjoy.
So before I start the questions, I'll just give a small info about you, the brief bio, of course, so that people watching us know a little about you. Dr. Shalini Malik is a practicing doctor with more than 2 decades of experience. She's the head of the pathology department at the National Institute of Tuberculosis and Respiratory Diseases, Delhi. The rest of the bio I won't read out because these are going to be the questions of the episode. So, before I start, anything you want to say, how you are feeling today? Anything nervous or something like that? Because I don't think you might be nervous because you have done so many interviews, I guess.
Yeah, not nervousness really, but I'm really happy to be here because I've been reading your work, following you. So although I have not physically met you, I'm getting that same warmth. Although warmth is a wrong word for Delhi right now, but I'm getting that warmth of being with someone whom I've been associated with, and I'm not anxious, but I'm looking forward to this conversation, especially since you've put in those little things about the little things that you've planned for us. So I've really been looking forward to it.
Lovely, lovely. I'm also looking forward to receive the answers from you because I think they are going to be as interesting. So the
I'm
first thing I
getting
really want to know from
yeah. I was saying that I'm getting
yes,
that
you
feeling
were saying
I used to get before exams now. That will I be able to answer your questions or not?
no, no, no. You will have fun. I can assure you that.
Sure, let's start. I'm sure.
Okay. So I was as I was going through your profile, I noticed that you are a practicing doctor with more than 2 decades of experience. So how did
Yeah.
you come to writing then? How did this transition happen?
So, two things. One, the transition, it's not really a transition because I do both. It is not like I mean, I moved from medicine to writing. But yes, I have taken up writing in a big way. How it happened was actually purely by chance. I was writing a little bit, on social media and all, and I found that people were liking what I was writing, and then I started contributing short stories, mostly many of them to women's web and other portals which focused on women's identities. And I sort of began to explore that area, and those stories were liked. Some of them were picked up for anthologies. So then I began to actively consider the idea of writing a book, and I found that it was something that I enjoyed. I had really not written before this, although I've always been a very, very active reader. I mean, at one time, I'm reading some 2 or 3 books at the same time. So I found that it's something that I enjoy, and I found that it was something that I was able to find time for because, in our routine, sometimes it's not possible to have hobbies which make you go out and even engage with other people. So, but most important thing was that when I wrote, I realized that I'm feeling really happy and connected to myself, and so I continued writing.
Okay. So I would like to know a little more about you. That how did you choose? Like being a doctor, your background, your family, your daughter.
Sure. So I am born and brought up in Delhi. I come from a family of doctors. Both my parents are doctors, and when I was in school, I didn't want to be a doctor. I felt that I should do something different, like a lot of 17 and 18-year-old students feel. So I actually joined Delhi University, and I thought that I will, not do medicine. But then somehow there was a pull for it, and then I thought, let me see if I can do it. So then I got admission in Lady Harding Medical College, which is again in Delhi, and I joined medicine with the thought, that okay, if I've got admission, it means I'm capable enough to do it. And I did my MBBS from Lady
Okay.
Harding Medical College, and then when it came to choosing a specialization, I selected pathology. I enjoy the field a lot, and that is how, in medicine there is so much work that you don't get to think, you just go with the flow and whatever is happening. So that is how medicine happened. Like I said, of course there is a very strong, always subconscious influence. Both my parents are doctors. My younger brother also later became a doctor. So I think it is, you know that that profession, its ins and outs. You heard so much about it that it becomes familiar at a very abstract level for you. So that is what happened, and then I had the privilege of going to a very good institution. So those kind of things, they build your personality. Those influences stay with you for life. So that was pretty much about how medicine happened. And after I did my post graduation pathology, I worked in Bangalore because my husband was there at that time. So I moved there. I worked with a very prestigious medical college there. And then we were there for a few years. I have two teenagers, both of them were born there. And then we moved back to Gurgaon, which is where I am now. So it is, I think, a very usual trajectory for both a doctor and a woman, right? That you choose something and then you go with the circumstances. So mine was also like that.
Now we know that you have doctors in family, but I would like to know that are there any writers before you? Were there any writers?
Oh, what a sweet question. So, actually, yes, and this is something that I really am proud of. My
Okay.
grandmother, my maternal grandmother, my nani was a writer. Her younger sister is a very well-known Hindi writer. Both of them have written in Hindi. My nani was a Hindi teacher, so she's written Hindi textbooks. She would write stories. Her younger sister, that is my mom's Masi ji, is also a very well-known Hindi writer. So they write poetry. They write in Hindi. My father has written again textbooks because he's also a very well-known name in his own field. So not a creative writing. So I've always had that influence. And more than writers, we have a lot of readers in the family. We have been surrounded by books growing up. So I think that also influences us, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah. I can understand that you have both the genes in your body, and it has actually helped you a lot. I think I would say that it has made it kind of like easier for you, not in the path of publishing, I'm saying, in the path of writing, I would say.
Definitely, I agree. Absolutely.
Okay. So let's talk about your first book, Stars from the Borderless Sea. You have said that it explores the most universal human emotion, love. I would love to know more about this book and why you have chosen this title.
So this is the book. Yeah. So this is the book, and the title. I'll talk about the title first. So the title actually signifies infinity. Um, the sea is infinite. The skies are infinite, and more than that, it is symbolic of the fact that there are no borders in love. See,
Yeah.
if we see the sky above us, we cannot divide it. That star belongs to this particular country, or that star belongs to this city. That is ever changing, right? And same thing, the sea. Yes, I know for geographical purposes we have divisions, but really that is not how it is. Deep down. So for me, that is exactly what love is. Love is borderless. We don't have any boundaries for love. At the same time, we have so many boundaries for love. We, we have our divisions of caste, religion, geography. gender, sex, so many things. But if you look at it, those are just structural societal constructs. True love knows no borders. And we can, although the whole world is always telling, being so aggressive about it, don't marry XYZ, we can't tell someone not to love somebody. All we can try to stop is the expression of love. Right? We cannot control the feelings. The heart feels what it feels. The heart knows what it knows, right? So, true love is borderless. And since you've asked me about the book, there is one more social construct that is very important in today's society, which is marriage. So this book actually explores love outside the space of marriage. At the same time, it's not a book about affairs or about something trivial. It's a book which is based on the premise that soulmates exist. Soulmates can transform your life, and you really don't know when and in which form you will meet your soulmate. So you can have a relationship at the same time. That is something at a cosmic level, right? But we live our lives according to society. We go to college, we get married, we have a family. Now, what happens when you meet your soulmate outside of this timeline? Does it is it any different? Should it be any different? So these are the questions that this book explores, and it also brings forth the fact that all our relationships, especially the relationship of marriage or a partnership in that sense, is very nuanced. It's very layered. Um, what is the reality of one person in that relationship and the other person in that relationship is very different. So only the people in a relationship know what is happening. And sometimes even they don't know. And still we as a society are so judgmental. Oh, look at them, they broke up, look at her, now she's with him. We don't even know. I mean, we have no idea. Exactly. So the idea was to bring across those layers, those nuances, and I think at our age, we know that life is not black and white. It's mostly gray, right? So, to pick up the love in those shades of gray, love, see, a lot of romance books as such. What are they? They're really nice. I love reading romance rom-coms, but the most common theme is boy meets girl, and they live happily ever after. But what if they don't? Every love story does not turn out like that. You can find a soulmate even at 55, right? So these are some of the things that this book I wanted to explore through this book.
And your explanation actually brings me to something interesting I really want to ask. That when your book was read by your fellow doctors and your colleagues, what was their, output to your whole plot? Because I think you must be hopelessly romantic, or you must have. Yeah, so that.
Totally.
Like, अरे डॉक्टर के से ऐसी romantic book, how did it come? Like, what was
So
their?
this is very interesting. One of my teachers didn't want to touch the book. Like, she's been my mentor, and she didn't want to read the book because she said, "कि Mills and Boons की तरह तो नहीं है." I was like, "नहीं, there is no nothing like that. It's just about the feelings and not about the physical part of love." But on the whole, the book has been well received by everyone, including my doctor friends. And I think the reason for that is because while it seems, just say, like you said, that it's very contrary. Doctors are supposed to be very practical, and so yes, we have to be in our work. But everyone has these two sides to themselves. So writing this gave expression to that side of me, and for them reading it gave expression to that side of them. So it wasn't like they liked the book, and one of the stories has a doctor as a protagonist, so that also we tend to write more about what we know, right? So the book was well received, like I said, and they enjoyed the softness as compared to the harsh realities that they see every day.
Nice. So I really want to know that your new novel, that is The Way Home. Is it the sequel of it, or it's totally different from the
No.
first one?
Okay, so this is different in so many ways. The Way Home is not a sequel. It's actually a book about much younger people. Like in Stars from the Bottle, let's see, the protagonists are mature women, who've lived a very rich life. This is about three young people who are in their late 20s, early 30s. And they're struggling with so many of the issues that people around us are struggling, imposter syndrome, poor mental health, grief, career decisions, and it's about how they find the strength within themselves to get out of the feelings in which they are stuck and how they find their direction in life. So it's a very different book. The age group also is very different of the protagonists, but I feel that all books, the feelings are universal. So if it is about someone struggling with career, we also did that in our, when we were younger. So those challenges are universal, but the setting and everything is very different from the first one. It's not a. This is
As you have mentioned, yeah, as you have
sorry.
mentioned that it talks about healing, self-discovery. You have mentioned
Yes.
that the book talks about healing and
Yes.
self-discovery.
Yes. Healing
So,
and self-discovery.
okay. And I want to know one more thing that, from our perspective, when we are writing something like anything related to medical term, we have to do a lot of research because we are laymen in that field. But when it comes to doctors like you, was it easy, or you also had to go through some research of sort?
No, for writing, like there are three young people in this book, and two of them are young doctors. So no, I didn't have to do research for their setting and all. It comes naturally. But what happens also is that sometimes you have to backtrack and think whether it's becoming too technical for the general reader. So that's a question that I always ask my beta readers. Did you get that part, or like did you get bored? Like there's an overkill. Like so that happens for the medical part. No, but then we have to do research for the other parts for the other professions. But on the whole, it is definitely easier for me to write a doctor's character because I've been there. The external and the internal, I have faced both. I know their difficulties. I know when they'll be tired. So it is easier. It comes more naturally. So maybe that is why we take that route and we write about them.
And you have also said that you have written short stories before you came with this manuscript,
Yeah.
both your books. So, did you ever find any story from your the surrounding around you in your field, like any patient maybe?
Especially lots. I actually wrote quite a good number of stories, based on especially during COVID. Because that was some time where there were a lot of experiences which doctors were going through. So I fictionalized them into stories about women dealing with home and the pandemic. So definitely, I think as a doctor, honestly, that gives us a very good window into so many people's lives because you're engaging with so many people, their families. So there are stories everywhere, and we're also see we are engaging with them when they are at a vulnerable stage of their lives. So you can sense that kind of a thing, what goes on behind the patient at that moment. No, of course, but you get to know a lot of other things about the practicalities of life. So I think that gives us a window definitely into how other people live. And also, I work in a government institution. So most of the patients who come to us are very, very underprivileged people, and that's not a group of people with whom a lot of us get to interact. So you understand their realities, and you pick up their stories to think about. So
Interesting. And I really want to know that you're also a panelist and columnist. You have mentioned. So, what are the topics that you mostly write on?
So women's identity is my, like, you if you get me started, you won't get me to stop. I love writing about women finding themselves, women, discovering what works for them and living life on their own terms. I absolutely, that is a constant theme in my fiction work also, in my non-fiction work, and as well as wherever I'm there to give a, wherever I'm talking or discussing something. I also enjoy talking a lot about writing, the writing process, because I find that like I have not formally learned writing. So I find that a lot of people also feel that we have not learned writing. Can we write? Is it too late? Are we, So I enjoy talking about that, and generally giving a direction. And one thing that I really enjoyed, which has been new to me, because especially I don't write for children yet, but when I interact with children, and you go to some school and you try and discuss story writing or storytelling with them, the imagination that they have, I just love working on it and doing the story building thing with them. So that is something that I was not really aware of, but I love the energy that they give us. So
Interesting. That's also another part of you that I come to know. And, I really want to know that how much time you took to complete your first manuscript and then again the second one.
So I think first book took around 2 years from writing to publication, right? That's the second book took a little more, 2.5 actually, mainly because when I was writing the first book, we were all under the COVID lockdowns. So other than going to work, there was no other activity happening. Once COVID finished, that writing time that I was finding disappeared, that me time. So 2 years for the first one, 2.5 for the second one. There's an overlap because, when you submit one, you started the other one. And so, yeah, the second one just came out in April this year.
But I think during the COVID times, most of the doctors were on their toe and they weren't finding time to, be at home. So how did you manage the time to write your book? I'm really wondering that.
I was at home. We were working throughout. We didn't have a single day off. But we were off from mommy duties because they didn't have to send the children to school and pack tiffins. So that little window, 1.5 hour. Also, COVID was stressful for everybody, of course, but it was much more difficult for us as doctors. And writing was my outlet, it was because that is why I started writing these soft and gentle love stories. So it's something, yeah. So it was something
Moment times, you wrote a love saga. That is something really amazing.
So that was because everything around me was just so crazy, it was just so, I couldn't make sense of it. So this was like my little la la land ki, here in this world everything will be fine. So since I was going through that kind of a stress, which every doctor was, so I found more time to write because this centered me. It kept me, grounded and sane and that kind of a thing. And of course, there were no other activities. We would go to work our normal working hours, maybe a little more, and come back. So evenings and weekends, I had more time. Now life is back to normal, so finding that time is a challenge.
Nice. And I've noticed in many of the cases with most of the authors, they say that at home nobody reads the book. Is it the same with you?
Okay, so that's a tough question. So my kids are 18 and 16. So they haven't read my book so far. They're not. This is not the kind of book that they read. Although they keep telling me, "Mama, we'll read." But other than that, no. My family is super supportive. My mom is my biggest champion. I have a lot of family who does not read. I mean, there are people who don't read much, but they've read my books, and I have voracious readers in my family. They're the first to buy it. They're the first to get back to me. So no, my family is super supportive.
That's very nice. I think some of the family of the writer should listen from you and they should actually get inspired.
Absolutely.
Because in my case, it's the same. Okay. So this brings us to the end of the questions I've prepared, and now I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions, and you have to answer them quickly. Are you ready?
Already so much heat in Delhi, and now you are ready with fire.
Yeah. This is going to be, I hope so.
I'm sure.
And I have to tell you, there are so many people. Some of your friends are watching. They're leaving comments. So whenever you are free, just go back to the comments and answer them.
Oh,
I
lovely.
will. So yeah. And thank you, people, for watching us live. And we are really grateful. This is the season 2 we have started, and our first guest is Dr. Shalini Malik. So here we start the rapid fire. If you're allowed to have a life like one of your characters from your books, who will it be and why?
That is not fair. Okay. So, that would be Rachna from Stars from the Borderless Sea. Um, yeah. You want me to tell why? Okay. So the why?
It doesn't spill out the climax and all.
No. It doesn't. Why? Because because I see a lot of myself in her. She's a very contemporary working woman with today's challenges. I probably won't be able to identify with other people who've lived in different circumstances. So she's a contemporary, balanced woman who's living her life with the same challenges that all of us do, making the best of it. She's not a perfect woman. She's not the perfect mom. Not at all the perfect wife. But she's just doing what she can, making the best life, making her way along life. So that. Okay.
Your answer makes even it more interesting. I'm also feeling inclined to abhi book kharide and start kare.
Then I will ask the character you like the most.
No, I'll surely read your book. I read. I'm actually buying all the authors I've interviewed, and I'm slowly reading the books. So I'll also buy yours.
Lovely.
So next is, when it comes to writing, are you a disciplinarian or a procrastinator?
No, I'm a disciplinarian. Even if I procrastinate, I do it with discipline. You can't do. If I'm not doing this, then I have to do this. So,
Have you ever had writer's block, and when?
Honestly, I don't think I'm that good a writer to have writer's block. That is not a luxury that I have. So yeah, but there are always times when it's more difficult to write, and when you're, when you're not able to get the output that you want. That happens, but not too much, not too often. And in that circumstances, you can always write something else, or maybe edit some of your work. So not really, because I don't. There's so little time to write. If in that also we have writer's block, then we won't get anything done.
Absolutely. I think this is very interesting. I mean, people have talked about it, but we can also do some conversations over it and get perspectives of different writers.
Yeah, sure.
So next question is, what is your favorite thing to do to kill time, apart from writing?
Reading.
Reading.
Absolutely.
I would say Netflix and all, binge watch, because most of the people say that.
I don't watch a lot of TV. I do binge watch rarely when there's something good, and then I only binge watch. I will finish it and then get up. But on a routine basis, honestly, I don't get time to watch TV.
I understand.
I read a lot whenever I get time.
Lovely. If given another birth with a wish, what would you choose to be? A doctor again, or a writer, or both?
Both. I can't separate the two now. It's too intertwined in my head to separate this thing. And I think I've been a doctor for far too long to remember a life when I'm not doing it.
But like in your younger days, you were saying that you did not want to be a doctor. So if you have that kind of chance, to choose something else apart from doctor, what would you have chosen?
I would have thought about becoming an entrepreneur. Yeah, I don't know what kind, but definitely I would have liked to, because I think that itself has a very creative angle to it. So I would have liked to have my own work and do it my way, definitely.
And the last is, what are your future projects? Would you like to tell us?
Of course, I would love to. So I'm of course working on another fiction book. I also have some non-fiction ideas which keep coming to me, and hopefully I will transform them into books soon. But right now I'm working on another book which is very different from the first two books.
Okay.
It is contemporary fiction, again with women at its center, but it's again very different. So right now that's what I'm doing, and I'm currently doing just revision and edits for it. So,
Lovely. So, rapid fire question comes to an end, and I would be so happy if you read something from your book.
oh, that is so nice of you. But before that, let me tell you that I learned so many things about myself from your rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Because these are not questions we put to ourselves. So I'll read something from both my books.
Sure.
Oh, I haven't marked anything, but that's okay. So this one I'm reading is from Stars from the Borderless Sea. This is from the first story, and the protagonists are sitting in their college campus. Um, and every day they sit there in the college campus after classes and they're talking. So they say that day when she had laughed, it was different. If something could be the summer rain and the warmth of the winter sun at the same time, it was her joyous laughter. Decades later, it would continue to echo in his imagination, crystal clear, sparkling, and uplifting. That moment, he had fallen in love with her. He felt as if he had stumbled upon a part of himself, a part he hadn't known was missing, as if something he had been yearning for, without being aware of it, had homed in and settled irreversibly in his soul. Tea over, they made their way to their respective classrooms. He had taken her hands in his, gently squeezed those delicate fingers, and then released them. Bye. She watched him stride towards the lab. She knew she would see him again in a few hours. Yet she waited until he was out of sight, and then some more. That was when she had fallen in love with him. It felt as if he had taken a piece of her with him, a piece she hadn't known about, a piece that had been hidden deep within her. He had unearthed it and tenderly walked away with it. It would now forever belong to him. So this is the when the protagonists fall in love with each other, and it's a turbulent love story after this. So
That was soulful. Wow.
thank you. So that was from the Stars from the Borderless Sea. Um, now from the way home. So the way home is so this is from a family who's celebrating Diwali. After they've been through some turbulent times, and it's not easy when festivals come. When you're struggling with grief and sorrow. So Anya is the protagonist here. Anya helped Biji set up the Ganesh and Lakshmi idols which they had brought. She saw Subodh put his arms around Sumita's shoulder and Sumita clasped his hand. Anya sat cross legged on the floor next to her parents. She looked at Biji sitting on the single plastic chair, her hands gently pressing on her aching knees, and felt an enormous tenderness for her loving grandmother. With nothing around them in this new house, no furniture, no items to announce belonging and possession, it was just the four of them. A family bound by pain, sorrow, happiness, dreams, memories, love, understanding, and acceptance, as only family can be. When they had walked in an hour earlier, this large empty living space had felt like a huge void. Now, the void felt a little smaller, less fearsome. Just like it had earlier this evening, the darkness seemed to shift a bit. Could this house also begin to feel like home? Could her memories find shelter here? Anya shrugged. It might be possible, but it didn't seem probable. She went through the motions of the rituals again. So that is one. And this is a very short little thing where Anya is waking up at home. So in the morning, Anya woke up to the smell of parathas. The crisp parathas filled with mashed potatoes spiced with coriander, ginger, and raw mango powder were awesome. The melting butter and the cold yogurt that accompanied them mingled in her mouth. When she was growing up, it had seemed magical the way BG could take any vegetable, even leftover ones, and turn it into an amazing meal by making a paratha out of it and serving it with a dollop of white butter. BG watched Tanya eat. So the rest is a spoiler. So actually, both the books are very strong on connection. Even though the protagonists and the situations are different, but it's about connection and love in different forms.
Interesting. And I would be happy if you could also guide some of the aspiring authors that how did they start and get published, because many people face a lot of challenges and they get confused. So
Yeah.
would you like to give any advice?
Yeah. So especially these days, there's a lot of information, but there's also a lot of misinformation, and people, especially aspiring or debut authors, often get trapped in that. So, my suggestion is first to, focus on writing first. There's a lot of, you're in publishing, so you'll understand there's a lot of clutter around writing, isn't it? People talk about everything other than the actual craft. So the first thing is, of course, to focus on improving your work, because none of us can write a good novel in the first draft, right? It takes so many iterations. The second thing is, when it comes to publishing, you need to understand how the publishing world works. Uh, what happens is that you need to understand how the publishing world works, how the world around us, what happens when your manuscript goes to a publisher, what are they looking for, and how do they decide what they are going to publish. So you need to be, you need to look at their websites, you need to reach out to other people, because what happens is that there is no point my sending a romance novel to a publisher who only works with non-fiction. So you have to, understand that part. If it is a publisher who doesn't take poetry, even if I've written the best poetry, they're not going to be interested. So, reach out to fellow writers. There are so many lovely online communities which are happening, around us these days. So, what happens is that reach out to them, talk to other authors, and keep writing, and keep submitting. That is essential.
Jeremy Allen White is one of the talented writers I've worked with.
Yeah.
So I think people have really enjoyed the session today. So many comments are coming, and I would be so happy whenever you have the time. Just answer them
Of
back.
course.
Yeah.
Of course. I really enjoyed being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, lovely having you. And I have to tell you that 9 episodes I do with authors and poets, and the 10th episode is a celebration of completion of season 2. So again, I'll invite you for the
Oh,
completion celebration, and we can have lots of fun, gossip
my pleasure.
around literature. No nonsense gossip; it's all literature,
Hello.
and we can have a reading session. So we will have 9 guests. I hope you will surely come.
Perfect. That would be awesome. All the best for all your ventures. You're doing so much, and please continue. Writing, publishing, everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Have a great evening.
Bye bye. Thank you.
So I was in conversation with Dr. Shalini Malik today, and all of you just heard amazing answers. We had a fun session because so many interesting things we got to know about her, and also, as she was saying, that she also got to know some different parts of her, different, like aspects of her through the rapid fire questions. So if you are someone who wants to get interviewed through my talk show, you can connect with me. The mail ID will be given in description. So this is season 2, and this was the first episode. So looking forward to interview many authors and poets. Have a great evening all. Bye. Enjoy your day.